What's up, everybody, and welcome. Today we're going to be spending time with the Reloop Beatpad 2, and in this video I'm going to tell you why it might be the best choice if you're all about tablet DJing. That's right, this is the Beatpad 2, and it's all about mobile DJing, specifically about DJing with a mobile device. Though you don't have to, it is a cross-platform controller. You can use this with PC, Mac, iOS, Android, but really the selling point is to use this as a tablet controller. It comes with these touch-sensitive drum pads that have several different performance modes. You've got hot cue, auto loop, touch effects, and slicer if you touch each button once. Then if you touch it twice, it gives you a second function: sampler, bounce loop, jog effects, and slice loop. It also gives you a multicolored jog wheel with position display. It kind of moves with my finger, showing you the position of the track. And it's got pretty much everything that you need to just start jumping in and mixing with your iPad right out of the box. Now, I've been spending a little bit of time with this. In fact, I brought this out not too long ago when Modingo came over. We got out the Mix-On 4 and this Beatpad 2 and had an impromptu tag set, kind of getting a feel for the similarities and differences between the two. And it was really easy for me to just take it out of the box, set it up, plug everything in, and then we jacked into a common mixer, and we connected to our Spotify accounts, and we were off and running. Now that's right, I said Spotify because since this is based around Algoriddim Djay software, that means that the big selling point of that software is that you get integration with Spotify, which means that you can instantly mix millions of tracks right off the bat, even if you don't have an existing library on your tablet. Now let's kind of look over this thing and talk about the general quality. Now, I've reviewed a number of Reloop controllers in the past, and the same things that I've said about those you can pretty much say about this controller. It's heavy-duty construction. Everything feels really solid. It's, generally made out of plastic, but I don't feel like it's chintzy or wants to break. The jog wheels are enormous, just like you would expect, and they feel great. Just a great, smooth, frictionless kind of feeling motion. The faders, they feel fine. The knobs are nice and big and chunky, and the pads have a little bit of give to them, and they are velocity sensitive. Everything, is what you expect from Reloop, and they give you a good bang for buck when it comes to quality, which is why when it comes to this controller, I'm giving it an 8.5. Now, I also want to talk a little bit about the practicality of this controller, because that is a big selling point. It's very portable, it's not enormous, but for the size, you get these really big jog wheels, and actually you get these huge pitch faders, and you get a lot of functionality in this little box, especially when you tie it in with Algoriddim software, and you bring it with a tablet. It just makes an all-in-one, all-inclusive, very portable setup. This is great for example, mobile DJs or wedding DJs or anybody who needs to take requests. Then they have the entire Spotify library at their disposal. They can do that. You can actually interface with the laptop, or interface with the tablet. You can actually do track search and things like that. If you want to search, you can just use your onboard keyboard just like you're used to. So it effectively gives you a lot of features just based on the fact that you have a touchscreen in front of you. Now, while all that makes this very practical for the right DJ, speaking generally, even though Reloop does provide a virtual DJ mapping and a tractor mapping, it's clearly meant to be used with Algoriddim software. You're only going to get the fully featured, the full feature set out of the Algoriddim Djay software, and that's going to be very limiting for some people because you're asking DJs to switch, and so in that sense, it does limit the practicality only because it limits the reach of this controller depending on who's going to want to use it. And so I have to take a little bit off the points for that, but speaking generally, it's incredibly practical, and it's easy to carry around, easy to move, and easy to hook up to anything, and so I give it a 6. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about the significance of this controller because this is a second iteration, so it did come after the original Beatpad, which really brought tablet DJing into the realm of, like, this can actually be a serious piece of hardware for DJs. You can actually use this instead of a laptop or dedicated piece of hardware to play your tracks. Before that, there have been other apps, there have been other pieces of hardware that are meant to do this, but really the Beatpad brings it all together in one cohesive package, and the Beatpad 2 improves upon that and really gives you everything that you need to be a mobile DJ in the sense of tablet DJing. But we're talking about significance, and this is an iteration on a previous release, and it's really not as fully featured as the Mix-On 4, which does everything that this does, but also gives you 4-deck mixing and a whole host of other things, and gives you Serato capability, and really just works with everything. This is a lot more feature specific, so I don't feel like I should really give it the same score as the Mixon, but I am willing to give it a 7 in this category. Now let's talk general design. Everything exists where you expect it, except maybe the beat pads being on top might throw you off a little bit. Some people expect that at the bottom instead of the top, but the reason Reloop has done this is because you get massive Reloop jog wheels, which Reloop customers love. You also get 100mm pitch faders, which is unheard of in controllers of this size. So they've made room for those things and made a few concessions, but really, as soon as you look at it, you know where everything lands and what it's supposed to do. Now, there are a couple things you should be aware of if you're going to be using this controller. One of them is, obviously it's 2-channel, so that you have to be okay with 2-channel mixing. It does, however, provide an auxiliary input, so if you need to be able to hook up a phone or something in case of emergency or an external source, you are able to do that, unlike the Mixon, which is a big plus. But the pitch faders feel really heavy, the jog wheels feel heavy, all in the best way, of course. You know, the crossfader feels fine, everything is pretty good as far as that goes, and you've got some interesting features. For example, when we're talking about that auxiliary input, it actually has a switch back there, and you can switch it between phono and line, which means you indeed can hook up a turntable to this controller. Now, it's not a proper mixer channel in that you can't EQ it, you can't filter it, you can't add effects to it and all that kind of thing. But if you just want to have it at home and use it as something to play records on for personal listening, this controller will do that. It has a preamp built in for turntables, so if you feel like listening to Tchaikovsky's Symphony No. 6 in B minor, you can do that. Some other great design quirks of this thing, well, let's talk about the tablet slot. This is meant to be used with a tablet, and so there is a slot up front for you to slide that in, just like on the Mixon 4. It's perfectly sized for this new iPad, and would be a little small for the iPad Pro. So if you have a really large iPad, you might be limited in being able to use that. But they provide a dongle so that you can connect to your Lightning port, plug it into the controller. They also have one for an Android device if that's what you use. And not only will it give you all the audio control and everything that you need through the controller, but it will actually charge your device while you're doing it through that single cable. So no adapters needed, nothing. Just the one dongle they give you, plug it straight into the controller, and you're good to go. Now, on top of the mixer section, you'll see that you have a 3-band EQ, except not really. It's actually selectable between a 2-band EQ and a filter, or a classic 3-band EQ. There's a switch on the back that you can go between them. So if it's on classic EQ, you actually get the normal 3 EQ bands that you're used to, low, mid, and high. If you switch that, you get a low EQ and a high EQ, and then you get a low pass, high pass filter to go back and forth with. I'll give you an example. That's the filter, high pass. Filter, low pass. Here's a low EQ cutout, high EQ cutout. Now if we go around the back and switch it, we changed it from the filter EQ model to the classic EQ model, and now we have a standard 3-band EQ. So I can do a cut of the lows, cut of the mids, or cut of the highs. Now that is some nice versatility, but I mean, it's not like they're really hurting for space up here. I kind of think that they could have just included a filter knob and the EQs, and you could have 3-band EQ and a filter, just like every other controller that exists on the market. I'm not sure why they did that, but at least they give you the option to switch back and forth. All of that being said, I think this is good for a design score of 8. So let's talk a little bit about value. The Beatpad 2 comes in at $599 US, which is not bad, considering everything that it does, and it gives you all this control over this iPad DJing scenario. But if you really think about, you know, $599 for a 2-channel controller that's very limited software. However, it gives you access to Spotify through the Algoriddim software, which is a huge plus. So really, this isn't going to be the controller for everybody. For some people, it's going to be a good value. For example, the mobile DJ who needs to take a lot of requests and needs a very portable setup, doesn't care about being into Pioneer gear, isn't into, specifically married to any other software, because, like I said, even though you can map this to be used with Virtual DJ or Tractor, it's not Serato certified, and it's not technically meant for that other software, and so a lot of these features aren't going to work without it. $5.99 is not too bad, and it's not a super value, so I'm going to give it a 6 in this category. Finally, let's talk about fun factor. Well, the fact that you get access to the world's music through Spotify adds a lot to the fun factor, though that's really a quality of the Algoriddim software more than this specific controller, so I don't want to put too much clout there, but having these performance modes actually really is a lot of fun. So I'll give you an example of how some of this works. I'm going to do some of these touch effects. And these touch effects add a lot to really make you feel kind of like a DJ hero up there. Some of the tricks and stuff sound really cool, but you're not really doing a whole lot. But if you've got good timing and good kind of finger drumming technique, you can get some cool sounds out of it. So I'm just going to click through a few of these. Or a flanger, or a... what's the word I'm looking for? Phaser. Bit crush. This one's really fun, actually. That one's kind of interesting. It's sort of a little snare roll or sample roll, and depending on where you grab that in the beat, it actually sounds a little different, but it's always in time, so I had some fun playing with that one. A reverse. Filter out. Filter up. So it does some fun stuff. Outside of that, you've got your basic slicing, looping, hot cues, sampling, any of the effects that are built into the software, but it offers a lot of fun in a small package, and I'm calling that good for a 7. And when you average all these scores up, you get a 7 out of 10, which is a very respectable score. This is going to be the perfect controller for somebody who's really all in on tablets, only needs 2 channels, but really access to music is their big selling point. So mobile DJs, people who take requests, any of that kind of stuff, if you work at a bar and you take requests, all those kind of DJs, if you have access to a solid, Wi-Fi connection or network connection of some kind, that Spotify access is really going to be killer. Outside of that, the Algoriddim software, the app for iOS is really robust. It's great software to use anyway, and you can use this indeed with a laptop. That's just not really the selling point of this particular controller. There would be other options maybe that you'd want to choose if you intend to use primarily a laptop. But other than this, I think you're really going to enjoy it. Buy with confidence if you are the DJ who needs to be able to have this extreme portability and access to music. And we'll see you next time on the Passionate DJ podcast at passionatedj.com. Take care.